Welcome to another episode of VMblog's Work From Home series. Today, we're very happy to have with us Michael Kent, the CTO of Login VSI. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So before we dive into the topic at hand, would you give viewers a quick overview about Login VSI?
Sure. So Login VSI is it's a platform. So we have a product that helps really determine change, right? It's a change management scenario that we like to sell out to our customers, and really it's measure, make your change, understand what that change is going to do to your user environment before you make the change. So can we give you a way to look at it from a user's perspective, understand the impact, and plan accordingly, and ultimately get a kind of a change rating and a risk management perspective before you go and make that change and find out that you just knocked off, 2,000 users in your virtual environment. So we have an acceptance testing capability, a load testing capability, and then finally a continuous testing capability that lets you put effectively probes out into different areas and look at the user experience from that area. So if you had a shop floor, we could test the user experience from that shop floor as they run through the ERP system or run through their activities in the warehouse. Same thing with you've got a remote support desk in another location. How are they able to get in and interact with the enterprise software, et cetera? So that gives you a way to kind of say, yeah, it's great in Atlanta, it's terrible in California, it's fine in Europe, and look at the impact of the user populace in those areas.
Well, as part of this whole Work From Home series, one of the things we obviously are talking about, the pandemic is a major topic for everyone. Were Login VSI's customers, were they caught off guard or by surprise, or did they already have solutions in place to help with their shift from working in the office to working from home?
Yeah, so I think everyone was caught off guard. I don't really believe anyone, even with a virtual infrastructure deployment, ever planned that it would have to carry this kind of weight, right? And I think that's the truth of it. And then when you got into it, it was, how long is this going to go? And so I think as it evolved, it was like the hits just keep on hitting, right? It's a month, it's 3 months now. Now they're talking about you're really looking at it being even longer, and companies just were not prepared. I think also the DR plans and the BCP plans are only ever as good as they are tested, and you kind of hope you never have to invoke those plans. This is a new test. In my opinion, it's a bit of a new test because I have a perfectly good building with perfectly good infrastructure that no one can access. We went through this a little bit in California with the earthquakes, right? The earthquakes hit, and but they were regional, so users couldn't get into the offices, and the offices didn't work. Well, this is a little bit different. The offices are there, they're fine, they're ready to go, but no one's allowed to go into them. So it really puts a new facet or viewpoint on those DR and BCP plans that no one was expecting. I think they were all caught off guard. They were caught off guard by how quickly everything came to pass, and I think they were caught off guard again, thinking that it was going to be short term, only to see it really morph into a long-term problem.
Now, for the companies that are continuing to push forward with the work from home or who have already migrated over to this model, before we go too much into the technology side of things, in general, how has this affected like the people and the need for connectivity and infrastructure?
Yeah, so I think I tell people the infrastructure just was not really rated for it. It was consumer based. If my internet's okay, then my internet's okay. It wasn't enterprise grade. It's consumer grade. And like your phone or your cable, the support as well is consumer grade. May not be the best, long wait times, these kind of things. Now all of this enterprise need has been dropped onto this consumer grade network, and it needs to evolve, right? And I think a lot of companies are trying to figure out, how do we put our best foot forward? How do we make the most of what we have? The term migration, I think you can loosely apply. It was more like acceptance or allow. No one was expecting it. It wasn't. I have yet to run into a company that did a really solid migration. We are going to move you and make sure that we have alignment of services and policies and security and that kind of stuff. I think people are still trying to figure it out. And I think the infrastructure and the tools that they have and the technologies that they have to go from enterprise grade in the data center and in the campus. That has to be extrapolated across these distances, working from home and that kind of stuff.
And what are some of the things that Login VSI solution does specifically to help enable work from home?
Um, I think the most important thing is really helping customers understand what their users are seeing, right? So you really have users that are isolated now. They're working from home. Their world has been upended, and so much of their normalcy is gone, right? It's just all new routines. And I was on a panel and we talked about just scheduling yourself in your calendar breaks. People are forgetting, and they're sitting in their chair for 6 hours. You're getting up and their legs asleep or what have you. This is the reality of it. The last thing that the end users need on top of all of that is a really poor experience trying to get in and just get their work done. They're already inefficient. Anything that can bring back productivity should be those things that we are grabbing for and bringing closer to that user. We monitor that end user experience from their perspective. We drive through these applications, so remote printing is terrible for people in the Southwest. The VPN is not working well for people in the Northeast. And really have IT refocus what they're doing and how they're doing it to make sure end users are productive, because that's really about the only thing that's carrying some of these companies through, is being able to get some productivity out of this new work from home scenario.
And what are some of the big questions that you're being asked to answer from your customers as they're shifting to work from home?
Yeah, I think first and foremost is can my systems handle it, right? Can my systems, in the data center, can they handle this? They were built for X, now they need to handle Y. Are they prepared for it? And that's our load testing capability, and that's something we've done for a long time. Just as soon as that's done, we're also being asked, can you test other environments, SaaS environments, that might be an option to augment? I don't have the option of building out more of my data center or capacity for my virtual infrastructure on premise. I can't even get there to do the work. I'm not allowed to cross a county line, or I'm not allowed to fly down to the data center and make those changes. Can I augment that with a cloud option or a SaaS solution, Citrix Cloud, WVD, something like that? Can you help me test what I have, and then test and understand that environment, and understand, is it an option for my users to be able to expand in a way that protects that user experience? That would probably be the first batch of questions. The second really is, again, how do I know if they can work, right? If their login times are just absolutely terrible, if Teams is slow and chunky, how do I know? I don't have traditional monitoring tools, don't have that lens. They look at the systems and the CPUs of the systems, and they say, I have 100% CPU saturation. That has no concept to an end user and what that means to that end user. Is that good? Is that bad? We have seen environments that are 100% CPU saturated, user experience is fine. And we've seen the flip side. Hey, it says I'm only running 50% capacity, but my user login times are 35 seconds, and it's abysmal. So I think it's really understanding that end user perspective. We know that they are working, they can get their job done, and of all of the things I need to be concerned about right now with this pandemic, I have to at least make sure that that is good. And I say the last one would be, we have to deploy a new application. We have to deploy a new security package. We have to make an adjustment for this time. I need to be able to make that adjustment and know I'm not going to destroy my end users. Can you help me with that? And so the answer on all those fronts are yes.
And what about security challenges? What are some of the things that companies should be paying special attention to now that their employees are, working out of the house?
Yeah. So interestingly, it's everything about the mixing of these contexts, right? I have a work and home life, and so naturally, just as those have been mashed up together, the computers are going to be mashed up together in the same way. So I'm working on my home PC, but I need to go and order my contacts online. That creates an exposure at that machine level that maybe I could focus better or what have you. When I was coming on premise or I had an office to go to, it was easier for me to separate work stuff and home stuff, and now it's all coming together. So in from a security perspective, the hackers know this, and so the phishing scams are up and whatnot. So I think security is the biggest part. Knowing that these people are exposed um, creates risk in making sure that you have not just good malware out there to help protect your users who may or may not have it themselves as they mix their metaphor. My home computer is doing some work, my work computer is doing some home. But also I've seen some companies, they're running internal phishing scams, just looking at where they need to do additional training. Now that folks are out of the office, communication is harder. What can they do to one, bring them back together in these virtual teams, but also protect them by running a test saying, you failed the test. You clicked on the link that said, click here, your new bank account is ready. And so it automatically signs you up for a training class on what phishing scams are, what they look like. These are, to me, the important things. And then the second most important is data security, right? I now have a laptop that I'm only connected in through VPN. If it's stolen, it's an exposure. If it's not encrypted, it's an exposure. And because it's now spending more of its time out in a uncontrolled environment, the security of that machine and that desktop and that data should be more important and more of a focus.
Now, I know we've talked about some of the technologies and resources that you need, but what would you say are the key technologies or apps that people need in order to be successful in a work from home environment?
So, excuse me, the collaboration tools are the most important, right? I think everyone's getting it done right now through video conferencing. Pick your video conferencing tool of choice. A lot of chat to be able to get the answers that they need ready at hand and not have to write a full email or make a phone call or what have you. So I think those collaboration tools and things that help bring folks together, using those collaboration tools to bring folks together, virtual teams, turn on the video. And this kind of goes to another question is, is everyone going to be in t-shirts and shorts all their life? And I don't think so. I think that after an adjustment period, there are folks that dress themselves for their job by putting on a proper shirt or a polo or something like that. And I think you'll see that start to move into this work from home scenario. They want that separation themselves. So they'll put on the dress for professional work and take it off so they can signal to themselves in this shared environment, I'm done with work. Work time is over. It's time for family or what have you. I think that's what's going to happen. Collaboration tools, absolutely number one. I think virtual desktop infrastructure has a huge play there because it handles application compatibility issues. It handles data security. It handles a lot of these challenges that simply refactoring an application can't do. And it can't do fast, or nor can it do it cheaply, right? If you've done any server migrations to the cloud, you'll know that the cost of refactoring the application is a huge time suck, as well as an expense on the books. And turning over your whole estate, if you have 2,000 applications, it's just untenable. So I think it has a huge role to play. And then of course SaaS. And the challenge with SaaS is now I have 15 logins to 15 different SaaS applications, and there's a bunch of overlap, and they all do a little bit. But I think those are the three, and getting the right mix for your end user is going to be the most important part.
And we've covered a lot of data here so far, but just trying to think through some of the stuff that we haven't talked about yet. Do you have any tips that you can share with companies on things they should be doing now to better prepare for some event like this in the future?
Yeah, yeah, and I think honor your end user experience. It is what drives the company, and we see that even outside of the pandemic, right? If you make your security requirements so tough um, that it really impedes a user's workflow, they start making shortcuts that you didn't anticipate. They start scribbling their passwords down on post-it notes and whatnot. And so I think, pandemic or not, you know, understand what this technology means and does to your end user, and adjust accordingly. Um, don't throw out a change if you don't know what's going to happen. I think with one of the versions of Windows, we saw that the performance dropped 30%. Why would you do that to your users if you have an ability to capture that and manage it in? So that would be it. Manage these changes in, understand that they've already gone through huge turmoil to get to where they're at. And you can't give them a 80% change in everything that they're doing and expect them, not to be lost to the learning curve. And that would be probably my biggest tip. And use your calendar. Right? Schedule yourself breaks, and make sure you're taking some time to stretch the legs.
Right. Well, I know that a lot of these people that may not have been working from home or are new to working from home, how do you get these people to come back to the office? And also, is there a cost savings for keeping them at home?
So that's interesting. I live and work in the Bay Area, and work from home has been a part of my life for 20 years. And in looking at that and knowing some of the trends, how Google runs their campus, and what Yahoo did to bring everyone back in and reorganize their teams, and seeing some of these trends, I think that there's an opportunity here, and I think that's what you'll see. I think it's going to run longer than anyone really anticipated or expected. I think the mode of work is being proven right now that if folks can get back to productivity, it is better for the company, because they don't have to spend so much money on real estate and rent and all that, right? They can resource in different areas if they have a strong work from home program. So I can go to those areas that are developing technology bases, the Michigans, the Research Triangle Park, these kind of things, and extend my reach a bit, and therefore, maybe pull in some cost savings, right, that way. So I think there's a real opportunity for the business. For the individual, where I live, every drive, everywhere you have to go is an hour and a half. It's terrible, right? And giving people back their life and saying, listen, we're going to give you back some of your life. You just have to have some discipline at home and create some space, I think is going to go over really well, because I think that you don't have to work in any tech center in the nation and have to commute an hour plus and do that a couple times and not think, man, I lose so much time productivity wise on the road. I think it's going to be a benefit on both sides. I think people are starting to realize it slowly, but I still think there's a little bit of that crisis mode that people are trying to get through. I think in the end, what you'll see is there is a benefit on both sides to keeping this work from home paradigm.
Great. And I want to thank you again for being on the Work from Home series with us. And before I let you go, maybe you can tell our listeners, where can they go if they want to find out more information about Login VSI and some of the technologies that you talked about today?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're prolific on LinkedIn. You can find us there. Our website, loginvsi.com. There's a resources tab that has some specific work from home guidance, a webinar on working from home and how to support users when they're working from home, a lot of resources there that they can engage and kind of hopefully help guide them through this time.
Great. Well, thanks again for being on our show.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more of these VMblog videos, please hit the like button and subscribe. And it's important, if you want to get notified the next time we post a video, please hit the subscribe and the bell notification.